Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Lynda. She is a lightness coach. Welcome, Lynda. So happy to have you here with us this morning.
Oh, so good to be here with you, Lauren.
I know we were chatting before the podcast, and I'm so excited for this conversation because I know we've met in a previous mentor with Alicia, and I just love her so much and everybody that's connected to her. So I'm super excited to learn more about you and your story. So tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and kind of a little bit about your journey here on Earth so far.
Ooh, that's just such a beautiful, massive question. It's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of things. So right now, I am a lightness coach and I am living my evolution out loud. No holds barred. When I'm learning a new aha thing, I begin to apply it and I start to see this is working. I do more investigation and testing. And when I'm like, wow, this is amazing, then I share it and take people along the journey with me who are already on their journeys. So I'm not trying to change anyone, convince anybody. I'm just doing my thing and looking over. And I imagine when you're a child and you're on the swings, you know, that moment where you look over and you'll see some other child is going the same exact speed and, and right along with you. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I see you.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of realizing that there are other people around you that are on the similar journey in a parallel path. And for a time, you get to travel along together. It's a beautiful thing. So I am over myself as far as needing to portray an image of I've got it all together. Now I have to be the guru on the hill with all the information and I never trip, I never fall. No, that's not my life. That's not anybody's life. That is way too hard to even conceive of. Like, no. Get to show up as you. And that's beautiful because all of the intricacies matter. Kind of like when you're holding a rock. See, it's a really cool rock. Woo, look at this rock. It's got all these striation lines in it and it's got some colors to it and some flecks of light. Like, what is this? It's beautiful because it's so intricate and fascinating. If it was just every single rock was one color, completely smooth, nothing of interest, with no chips and no story to tell. Kind of boring, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm all about sharing my current where I'm at and just seeing how it resonates with certain people at certain times. My past is 25 years as a homeschool mom, an adventure mom. We actually thought of it more as exploring the world, seeing why people choose to do what they do. So going places and asking, what do you love about this? If you go to a train station and you talk to an engineer, do you love trains? Is that why you do this? What do you love about trains? You go to an aerospace event, talk to engineers there. Lots of engineers showed up in the homeschooling and they are excited. If you talk to an historian about why do you study history? And they start to tell you because the stories are incredible. Look at this item. Do you want to know what happened to this item and how it got to be here in my hands? And they get so lit up. So I believe that everyone has a story like that for why they are where they are right now. And that story has lessons and ahas that we can all benefit from. So, one of the aspects of the things I do now is helping people be in their present moment essence and just allow some of these life lessons to come through so that we all can have a taste of it as a community. And that's aligned with my sharing my evolution out loud so that we can all, you know, mix and match and learn from each other. It's like living a bunch of lifetimes in this one lifetime by getting to sort of borrow from the experience of others, right?
Yes, I love that. So when you kind of say a lightness, like a lightness coach, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? What is that different than, or like, how does that differ from the idea of like just a normal life coach and like idea of personal growth and self improvement or development?
Hmm. You know that candle in the dark room, how that one little flame is completely obvious. There's no denying it's there. But the candle, say in a lit room, like, oh, yeah, yeah, there is a candle over there. For me, embracing the light is to allow the dark that's here, to not fear it. So, a lightness coach allows all of it. So, that's great for trauma healing because it's all about whatever is coming up here right now is allowed. When somebody's saying, oh, I have these limiting beliefs, I'm believing this thing and it's blocking me, and I'm so frustrated. The way a lightness coach would approach that is welcoming it, saying, you are the light.
Right.
So this dark thing that's coming into your light vanishes when you allow it. And I love playing with the reality of the science of that, just with literal light, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like you sitting where you are right now. If you have any light around you right now, and darkness tries to come over you, come onto, take over your light, it's actually quite impossible because light is the energy and the darkness does not have that energy,
Right.
right? So really, darkness can't overcome the electrical energy of the light, just like emotional darkness
Yeah.
can't overtake you. That's only make believe. It's something we imagine, that fear.
Right.
So it's about understanding what's happening, getting safe and grounded into now, and allowing these dark clouds to pass through. Knowing who you truly are is much bigger and is the light and has all the power. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing I deal with. And it's a hero's journey, really. And I use the light system. And that's an acronym for a hero's journey of steps to go from love being the first L for light system, on through a process where right in the middle would be health and the healthy habits that we do to feel better. But those are grounded first in love. So it definitely takes that inner work to little by little expand outward so that it's really an expression of love as opposed to forced.
Yeah. I was gonna say when you say the hero's journey, it reminds me of tarot because it's the well, they say it's a hero's journey, but it's like the Fool. It's like this little kid that kind of goes through all of the, little cards and how they like you interpret the energy of like learning pretty much, and then, it's like this cycle rebirth, death, rebirth. And it's like kind of like it mirrors like what we do, like what we experience, I should say, on this journey. And I love that I was really interested in learning more about the light system. And then when you were saying each acronym, like each word stands for something, I was like, oh, of course it does. That just makes sense. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about like this, I should say, the steps of it or how they build on each other?
Or starting with love, that is mandatory to accompany that with healthy boundaries. So in that case, I always picture a front picket fence lawn and a mother with a picnic blanket and her little toddler playing, running around the yard. And the picket fence is all that's needed when everything is sunny and nice and everybody's pleasant. But then say somebody's walking their dog and the dog gets irritated and starts barking, and then all of a sudden the child is afraid and runs to mom. Everything's fine because there's the picket fence. But what if somebody wants to cause harm and go past that picket fence, hop that fence? What do? That's where you raise your boundaries and say, I need to put it a safe distance to match what you're intending so
Mm,
that I protect my child. And that can be your inner child in that yard playing, that little toddler.
yeah.
I protect myself and my child in my space, my yard. And if I need to push you out much further, I will move that fence for you. Your
Mm,
fence is 10 miles away, 100 miles away.
yeah.
And if you don't respect that fence, we build a gigantic wall for you, always temporary, always flexible, because this is about protection. It's not about hurting someone or, closing yourself off. It's about your freedom. And the next thing would be your identity. Who am I? Which is the question you asked me. It's like, it is huge. I mean, you could spend
Yeah.
every single day of your life asking in meditation, who am I? And
Yeah.
just you make it different facets of that every day. You are everything. You are all that is. You are made of love. You have, I picture it like, um, say you're ocean water. There's a whole big ocean that you're a part of, but say somebody takes a bucket and scoops some of the ocean out, and we're going to call that amount of water right now you. But you are also still all the rest of the ocean water, no matter where that goes.
Yeah.
So your identity, it's really just grappling with who you are at your essence versus your ego. And I don't mean the kind of ego that says, you know, I'm stuck up and have a big head. It's like, well, that's actually not what I meant. It's more the psyche that's fearful and has all kinds of patterns with triggers set up to make sure that you're safe in a very controlled way.
Yeah.
Instead of removing yourself or, standing strong to fight, that love would actually have you do, if it was necessary, the roles and the preferences that you have. These are all the psyche at work. So it's about, are you the psyche? Because sometimes you think you are. You lose yourself in the identities that you're playing. But the true identity behind it all incorporates all of you, all parts of you. And from that place, you channel love. So that is what makes it the next step from love. Next would be LIG. Next would be, just do the math here. Okay, growth and gratitude. So really, the gratitude, that whole section is about your vibration. So now that you know that you are love, now we're moving into how do we begin? This is the middle zone where we begin to bring that outward. And the vibration, that's where you'll dive into looking at a circumstance and interacting with that with gratitude. Gratitude that I'm alive to have this problem, for instance. Then moving to the H, which has to do with healthy habits. Now that you've got this foundation of who you are and you're vibrating with gratitude, it really changes how you approach your habits. It's no longer a judgment. It can't define you anymore. You don't have that same, oh, I fell off the wagon, I'm bad, shame, shame. That disappears because you've already established who you are. Like, this is just something I'm doing. It's not who I am. And then you move into T, and that has to do with trust and transcend. So you're always trusting something. Every time you take a step, you're trusting that the ground will support you, you know, just like if you're on a rickety, maybe a rickety bridge and it's moving a little bit, you're going to be really tentative about each step, right? But when you're on solid ground and you're taking those steps, you're trusting that that ground is going to be there for you. So when it's choosing what you want to trust. And then transcending has to do with doing the work of when a circumstance happens, go through all the steps. Are my boundaries protecting my open heart? Am I able to keep my heart open? That's going back to the first step. Who am I in this situation is the identity. And then am I growing and filled with gratitude that I get to have this situation at all? Moving into what healthy habits are helping me be prepared physically and emotionally and mentally to be able to handle this circumstance. And questioning all the thoughts and really realizing that my thoughts are not who I am. I'm the one observing my thoughts, playing with my thoughts, orchestrating, hey, mind, go solve this problem while I rest, and then the answer pops up later, right? You're directing it. So that transcendence part is where you begin to deal with those things. And now you are ready to go out into the world and be you, fully you, grounded, feeling like you are overflowing with that love. You have plenty to give, and you're not going out into the world looking for something to fill you up, looking to get your needs met, as if that would somehow make you whole. You know that you're whole by then, right? So that's where we go.
Yeah, I love that. I kind of want to ask a couple questions for like the first step. What came to me when you were explaining the love, like it sounds really simple, to be honest, right? But I feel like it's often the hardest one. Like, how do you guide people through moving from, like, let's just say self-criticism to like genuine self-love? Because I've noticed in society, which I probably did this too for, I mean, maybe like old protective patterns, right? Or maybe it's like deeply ingrained in us. But I'm like, yeah, I have self-love, but I didn't really understand what self-love was because I was so ungodly critical of myself. So like, how do you guide people through this to kind of get from, let's just use self-criticism as an example, to genuine self-love?
I think of it as all of these steps of the light system all work together, and love plus the knowing who you are from the identity will constantly be interacting,
Okay.
because if you are feeling self-critical,
Yeah.
who is feeling self-critical,
Yeah.
right? Is it the essence of you, or is it the egoic, judgmental, fearful, preference-based character that's trying to keep you safe dealing with the world?
Right. Or like
Imagine,
conditioning. Yeah, I was gonna say, or like conditioning. So I guess my second question was like, well, I want her to explain more about the identity. So like when you speak about identity, you invite people, like, I guess what you're saying is you invite people to see beyond the conditioning, beyond the stories, and help them shift, like you just said earlier, that the love and identity play a huge part. They go back and forth.
yes. And
Okay.
when you find yourself in the love operating system, how does your body feel? And when
Right.
you find yourself in the egoic operating system, how does your body feel? Getting used to, and picture yourself in a movie theater. This is a good way to imagine it. You're in a movie theater, you're watching a movie, and it is a great movie. You are completely immersed in it. And suddenly somebody next to you coughs, and it can bring you like, whoa, back to this moment in the chair. And you realize, I thought I was completely immersed in that movie. I thought I was that character, or watching. I thought I was a bystander next to that character,
Yeah.
actually in the movie. But you realize suddenly, oh my goodness, I'm in a movie theater and there's a person that coughed next to me. And now you have to kind of work to calm yourself back down and get back into your movie. Life is like that. We walk around a lot of the time, not in this present moment, aware that we're the one sitting in the movie theater chair, but we lose ourselves into the movies in our heads about past and about worries of the future, or sometimes even positively imagining beautiful things of the future. But those are never our problem. If you're imagining, instead of worrying, you just kind of shift that around and just be slightly delusional and think happy thoughts. What do you know? That's possible too, right?
Right.
You think about your happy thoughts. What happens to your body then? Right? Your body's
Yeah.
going to react to all of that happy, possibilities, and you're going to feel good. That's going to change your present moment. So if you're lost in your thoughts of positive things, enjoy it. But it's really nice to know that you have control of that driver's seat. You can lose yourself in a movie, but if it's an awful movie, it's a horror flick, and you would rather not be in one,
Right.
come back to your now. Right
Yeah.
now, you are breathing. If you are able to have a nightmare, you're breathing. You're here.
Yeah.
You've got that to be grateful for. You you can work from, wait, I'm okay now. Fear is always out of the now. It's always a projection, and it's the imagination.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. It says it all over in my human design chart that I have to stay in the now moment. So it has been a challenge, but I have to, it's like, it's kind of comforting to know that when I'm getting out of the now moment, or I'm worrying about this, or I'm worrying about that, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm thinking about that, oh, I got to pull myself back because I'm not in the now moment. And like things in the past are they'll just be, and then the future is already planned and I can't control it, I can't change it, in a sense, like that it's already predestined or whatever. So then I like usually say, like, what can I do to stay in the now, normally. So that's always like a good reminder to, like, if you have anxiety or if you have worry, it's because you're worried about something that's going to happen in the future, or maybe it's in the past, or you're thinking about something in the past. So I love that. It's definitely a reminder for myself. So in your light system, it seems like health is just not about the body. It's also about the mind, emotions, and spirit. So can you just kind of explain from your experience or from your client's experience, how does carrying emotional heaviness impact our health, and what changes when people like begin to release it?
Give me an example in your life. How does that show up in a specific situation,
Um,
or has in the past, or someone you've worked with?
I'm like, there's a lot of things I can say about this. So weight gain, for instance. I realized my weight gain is tied to around my waist, specifically around my belly area, is attached to my emotions and either suppressing them or not releasing them. And I noticed doing somatic stuff, because it's physically something that you can do to release, that I noticed that I was able to release stuff. So it's like I would emotionally eat thinking that's connected, which I'm sure it's connected at some point to like eating sugar, that's why my belly, or my waist, I should say, like not even my womb space, I should say, would get, because like everything else is relative, like it's proportionate, but it's always like my belly, even when I was skinnier, would always be bigger, puffier, bloated. It just, and I realized when I started focusing on the emotional piece that I was carrying so much stuff from, it could be ancestral, it could be from when I was a kid, it could be from my own experience, and I would release that and I felt lighter. So that's kind of like my experience through it. And it seems like by listening to your light system, health is just not about the body. It's also about our mind, spirit, and our emotions.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And with all the work that you do with Reiki and healing and intuition, and like that's your world, is to combine all of the spiritual, energetic aspects of being alive.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things when I think about the connection of mind body is to go back to science and start thinking about the quantum field,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how we're not just made up of atoms, which that would be enough for me, that, okay, wait, we're made up of atoms.
Right.
Wow, that's not like an atom has a lot of space inside of it. You know, it's not as hard and material as I think of my body. I think of my body
Yeah.
as this strong, structure. But when I look into the science and you break it down, the fact that we're made up of so much water, for instance, is what? I don't feel like I'm made of water. What? But when you break it down to the smallest particles, bosons, and these little particles,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it ends up that you break everything down into the smallest parts and you're left with energy. So if I
Right.
am just actually made of energy, for one thing, that is not so different than a movie in my head. Maybe I'm a movie in someone else's head,
Right.
And in some ways, anyone that's not in the room with you right now, if you picture them, you're thinking of them, but what you're seeing in your mind's eye is a movie in your head about them, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's all energetic. So you've kind of created them in your mind. I just love the idea that maybe what we eat or our intentions for how we spend our time, or for me, sometimes if I'm stressed out and being sedentary and starting to make food choices that are just like dopamine hits,
Oh yeah.
eat something that's just going to make me feel okay for this moment. Any of these kinds of choices, you go back into the work you do with that
Yeah.
and you realize, oh my goodness, this is rooted in a disturbance in the force,
Yeah.
right?
Or avoidance, or it's like, what am I not focusing on? What am I trying to, like, there's a empty, my biggest thing was I felt, you know, my drug of choice, I would always say, is toxic relationships previously and past version of myself. And I've noticed lately, when I don't have drama in my life or I don't have this up and down, it's like I'm trying to make sure my husband's okay. And it's like, what am I doing? And I've noticed a pattern coming back in because my life feels like peaceful or boring. It's not so chaotic. And I feel like that in itself has taken me some time to get used to because of me constantly up and down, me constantly walking into a room, making sure that person's safe. Is this person safe? Reading people's energy. So I do love that you say, like, at the end of the day, like when you go through everything, we're all just made up of energy, which is why I can't understand why people don't, like, they think that they can't believe in energy. And it's like, but why? Like, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make I can't make it make sense. Like, even to this day, I'm like, why don't you understand? And then I think to myself, maybe they just don't understand. Like, maybe they just don't understand that, you know, you attract who, like, the vibration you attract the lessons to you. It was hard for me to accept, I should say, that in the beginning. It's like, God, am I really this shitty of a person, or am I really this? And it's not that I was a shitty person. It's just that I've accumulated a lot of experiences that were not good for me. But I also chose to be in them, because obviously my soul chose to learn from them. It's a process, right?
Yes.
And then repeat it, and then repeat it again, and then repeat it again. So, like, usually my cycle usually is like 30 times is a charm. Like, it's sad, but yes, I mean, like, now it's not. Like, I know, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. We're not going through that. No, we're not. Like, no. We've learned too many lessons about that. So it's like, now you have that choice. Like, do I want to go through this again? I know what the outcome is going to be. Do I really want to do this?
Yes.
Yeah. So, for maybe like the listeners that are feeling maybe overwhelmed, and thank you so much for going through your process of the light system. I really feel like that's a huge, especially with the transformation at the end. I feel like uh, that's just in itself seems like what am I trying to say? Like a practice or like a perspective that could give you, like, yourself or clients or profound freedom to things. Like, from what I'm listening to you talk about the system, what could you kind of offer the listeners maybe that could feel weighed down by life, like most of us do sometimes, or overwhelmed or anxious? What could be like one gentle, powerful practice that they could start with releasing emotional heaviness?
Mm. Here's a perspective that's just coming to me as I'm saying it.
Okay.
Meditate, even for just 30 seconds. Ask
Okay.
yourself, mm, which operating system is happening here, love or fear? The ego would be fear. The true
Okay.
essence of you is love.
Right.
When you are in the love state, now I just want you to take an imagery thing. This is coming up right now. Okay. Imagine you just washed your hands really well and you did your nails and you put lotion on your hands and they are feeling so cared for and pampered. And you look down and you think, Aw, that feels nice. It physically feels nice and it looks so good and it quenched the dry hands. It just feels really nice. And then somebody asks you to, oh, I don't know, hold a handful of dirt for them for a few minutes, right? You
Yeah,
see yourself, you're identified with clean hands. You like how it feels.
yeah,
And to then hold the dirt because somebody else just wants you to,
right.
right? How how do you want to handle that? And what it's kind of ick. Right?
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
want to do that. So if you look at yourself as that time in meditation, that time connecting to the bigger you outside of the roles you play, the characters you are in the movies in your heads, or the characters you play in the movies in other people's heads, their expectations of you. The true essence of you is whole, is complete. There is nothing wrong with that beautiful soul. Nothing, nothing to fix, nothing to strive for. Beautiful, shining. It's the diamond. It's everything. You realize that is the core of who you are. And then any negative, shaming, guilty, all these things are all layered on top of you. It's just like putting dirt on those beautiful, smooth hands. That is not you. So yeah, you might have to play in the dirt sometimes, and
right.
sometimes you may want to, just
Yeah,
for the sake of learning. You might want to, okay, fine, I'll get my hands dirty in this thing I probably that's not aligned with me. I'll entertain that pattern from the past and give it what it's wanting, and I'll mess around with that choice that isn't my highest. And then you're left with the dirty hands, and your ego might start to get you to believe that you are the dirty hands person. Like,
right.
no, 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 no. Remember, just remember, you can always find your way back. Go wash your hands, go
Right.
through the process, meditate, be again heading back towards the truth of who you are. And little by little, each experience becomes a playground of just doing that over and over in every situation. And that makes it all just a workout. It's today's workout.
Right.
Went to
Yeah.
the gym of who am I and what is coming on top of me? And then how do I handle it from love, not fear, knowing that I can always let that go and come back to me. Just be aware of you being the clean hands one.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Make sure. I love that it basically what I'm hearing is the light system is how you help people remember who they are. I love that because it's like
Yes.
you're guiding them back to themselves because we have, unfortunately, a lot of us have strayed away from remembering who we are. It's a lot of the core essence of what I do too. It's like people say,
Yes.
"Oh, I need you to help me do this," or I'm like, "I don't need. You don't need. You might need my guidance per se, but you don't need. Your soul does not need me. Your ego does, but or your humanness, I should say, which is part of our ego, needs to step away and like kind of back up and just like calm down. That's why I usually always like when things happen, I make it probably dark humor for some people, but it helps with calming my ego down. And I'm like, no, no, we're not doing this. Let's go, because it's always like my ego tries to make me in these boxes of like, you did that before, remember? And it almost killed you. And it's like, no, it did not. That is not true. Yeah, so I love the system, and I love the acronyms of it, and I feel like it's a really simple process by people just listening to this podcast that they could simply change their whole life and their moment of even, and they could do this wherever they are. It's not like they have to sit and journal or they have to sit in a place. They can just sit and be where they are and kind of go through the steps. I almost tried to
Right.
say it. I'm like, is it 5 words? 5, 6? I'm counting in my head, like how
It's
many
five. It's
steps? Yeah,
five.
5.
And on a good day, all of this comes easily.
Yeah.
But where the work comes in is allowing the times where it's not and saying, oh, I love that. It's like going to the gym and having a workout with weights and saying, okay, these are my circumstances. I
Yeah.
will leave this place and all the equipment, all the heavy things are going to stay here, but I'm going to come to the gym and I'm going to do my workout.
Yeah.
That's day. That's daytime. Then at nighttime, you sleep and recuperate. You come back the next day and you do another workout.
Yeah.
So if you look at all your circumstances and things that you want to show up for as something that's not you, it doesn't represent you. It's you deciding how you want to approach it.
Yeah.
You know, how involved do you want to get? You know, do you want to go to the light weights today? Or do you want to go in deep for the heavy weights and
Yeah.
really build your
That's
muscles? And
yeah.
you get to choose how you show up to the gym of daily life and to the gym of your thoughts and your what you're believing and say, okay, I've got this fear coming on and it's shutting me down and suddenly it's not easy for me to just stay in my light today. Well, say this to yourself. I love that. I love that this problem is here because it's a new opportunity to expand my capacity. I love that this difficult thing happened and I get to show up and get my workout in. And if I am overwhelmed by it, I'm allowed to pull back.
Right.
I'm allowed to ask for help and you know,
Right.
I'm allowed to I'm allowed to even be upset. In fact, I'm allowed to have all the thoughts and all the negative thoughts. When all of it is allowed and you are the one observing that it's here, you're in the right place. You're in your love. When you are love, you can handle the light and the dark and the everything that shows up. It's when you shrink into this little small self belief that you're littler than your problems or you're littler than the beliefs you're having or telling you. When you're this little person, that's where it gets scary. But that's imagination again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm relating this literally because we're recording this and my daughter had went to kindergarten this morning and
Oh,
try not to get up, be emotional, but when I'm listening to you talk, it was more of like my daughter like, "Mommy, I'm really scared." And I'm like, "That's okay. You're allowed to be scared, you know?" And she's like, "How if people don't like me?" And then I'm like looking like, God, why? Like, I'm like, why does she feel? And I was like, well, why do you feel like people won't like me? And she's like, well, what if people are mean to me? And, she's been around people, like she's went to daycare and, like she's been around, she knows what diversity is. She knows that there's different people in the world and she likes to be liked. And I think my biggest thing was like she's so sweet and she's so compassionate and she is that representation of love, that even she could tell, obviously I always say this, but she's probably more intuitive than I am, very, very she could feel people's energy. And this little girl that was standing next to us, she was like, it's okay to be nervous. It's our first day, my mommy said. And like I like turned away. I was like, oh my God. Like it's just the way, the intelligence behind. And the little girl was like, can I sit with you? And I was like, well, they were in different classes. I was like, God, I hope she's in my daughter's class. And then she comes in. And then the teacher, we was meeting the teacher and Lily didn't want me to stay too long. She wanted me to come in, but she was like, oh, mommy, I'm okay. So she, the little girl had asked to sit with Lily. So the teacher was like, sure, you guys are friends. And I said, no, they literally just met in the parking lot, and it was just, and the teacher was like, wow, she's so compassionate. And I said, yeah. And I think my biggest thing is like, kids can be so mean, or I should say that, you hear about kids being so mean. But when I went to this school and when I went to the parent, like, meet the teacher night and the parents, I always feel like, well, the kids aren't mean, it's the parents that aren't teaching them. They're just kind of repeating the things that their parents do. And I'm like, I didn't even feel like any of the parents were these, mean, rough around the edges people. We all genuinely had the same concern from our kid. And it seems like where the school that she goes to is all about positivity. Like even the principal said, we don't do much discipline here unless we need to. It's all positive. Like, so they do the discipline. Don't get me wrong. Like if they're not wearing their uniforms, that's a big thing. They need to wear their uniforms. They need to be like the rest of the, look like the rest of the kids and, all that stuff. And my daughter had a problem with that. She said, I don't want to look like the rest of the kids. I was like, but you're not, you're different. She said, yeah, I'm wearing my sparkly boots. And I was like, okay, that's okay. And it's like, and they remembered her from when we went to like visit the 100th day of school we went to go visit. So she got to be with the other kindergarteners so they're first graders this year. And the teachers remembered. They were like, we remember Lily. I'm like, oh, of course you do. Like, because she likes to be so different. But at the same time, I don't know. It's just like when you were talking, it reminded me of, kids are pure love. They don't have all the experiences at this moment. Well, I mean, my daughter's 5, so she does have experiences, but they don't have all the experiences that we have as adults, so it's like they're the pure essence of what love could be, until they go through experiences of trauma that they picked, lessons that they picked, whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I just had to say that because I'm like, wow, it is very true that, she's like, I love my teacher. And in my mind, I didn't say it out loud. I was like, you don't even know your teacher, but it's just a representation of how she looks at the world, that she loves people, and she will tell people that she loves them. And unfortunately, it makes me uncomfortable because I know what society says about that, but I don't say anything because I'm not trying to change who she is. She'll say, I love you. Like she'll tell her friends, I love you. And she gives them a hug. Like to me, I'm like, that makes me uncomfortable, but that's just because of probably conditioning. I tell my friends I love them too, but it's like, you look at these kids and they're so sweet and innocent, and then they have to go out in the world. Don't get me wrong, she can be mean if she needs to be, but she definitely, for her to worry about are people going to like me, it's just like, wow, it starts so young. She wants to be everybody's friends. She's probably going to be people normally, a lot of her friends list, like she's like the leader. She's like, I'm like, Lily, you have a teacher. You can't be the teacher. You have to listen to your teacher. Because at daycare, it's like, I don't know if you ever watched Lord of the Rings, but Khaleesi, and she
Oh,
has her
yes.
dragons, and that's Lily. That's my daughter. She's she's Capricorn, very like, you're going to listen to me. I'm the boss here, and that it translates into home. I'm like, I'm not your sister, at least not this lifetime. I'm your mother, and you're going to listen to me, so it's very enlightening to know that she'll be okay. I think it's more of like, this is her first experience being without, because she was sometimes at home with me, sometimes she went to daycare. I wanted to make sure she had that social interaction, and I have a business to run, so I have to make sure I run it. And it's been nice to know, like, I think it was very emotional this morning because it's like, wow, this is literally the last time that she's going to be, this is like kindergarten now, she's going to go off in different chapters, and it's like, oh my God, she's growing. Those first 5 years I feel like were really important. As much as I feel like parents complain about them and, get overwhelmed or overstimulated, I think it's really, really important. So thank you so much for
It's
sharing.
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of the goodness and wisdom that you shared. Tell us where we can find you, and tell us anything that is coming up for you that people can go support you on or go connect with you.
Thank you.
Of course.
I wrote a Kindle book that's on Amazon called Serene Surrender. And it's a deep dive into some of this as well. And I have a free chapter that you can download that will probably be in the show notes, I imagine.
Yes, I was going to say, yes, I have that. So that will be there. That's very generous of you to give a free chapter. That's awesome.
And it's a lot because the introduction itself has a lot to it. And as with this conversation, there's a lot. And to realize that you have so much more control by actually, strangely, not controlling. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So my website is lightnessquest.com. And I noticed how you picked up on the end of the quest to lightness is not somewhere far away out there. It is you. It is Lily. It is that beautiful love light, untainted by all of the preferences and judgments of the world.
Yeah.
So that's the lightness quest ultimate place, is to come back to who you truly are and who you were as a little child when
Yeah.
you were first born, before you had any of these experiences that would make you dim your light, put a lampshade over your over your light.
Good. That's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
Or
So
where
lightnessquest.com. Pardon me.
I know
Say
I
again.
said, and wear it the rest of your life like a lampshade on top of your head. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then also, I'll make sure that your social medias are also in the show notes if you're watching this. There's a lot of people, actually, I didn't realize this. There's a lot of people that watch this on YouTube. So if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you go grab her free chapter, which was so generous of her. I'll make sure that's in the show notes. And then if you're just listening to this, you can just click below in the description box and you'll be able to connect with Lynda. Well, thank you
And
so
you
much
can
for
go
joining
to
us.
Amazon Kindle. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
just, I
What
was
were
just
you-
going to say, you can go to Amazon Kindle and look up Serene Surrender. It's only a
okay.
few dollars for the Kindle book. I just wanted this to be in your hands. Just wanted you to have another perspective to support you on your journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, and also go grab that book to support her. It's just a few dollars. It's probably less than a cup of coffee nowadays. So
Yes.
support her. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Lynda on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next week.